Recording. All right. And 5, 4, 3. Welcome to the Winner's Circuit, a sports show that covers a wide array of sports, music, and overall artistic expression, with the overall goal to provide provocative analysis and overall feedback from you, the fans. I am Isaiah.
And I'm Devin.
And today, we're going to cover everything from All-Star Weekend to the 50th anniversary of Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game against the New York Knicks. So first, we're going to get into All-Star Weekend. And the biggest news of the weekend, LeBron James choke artist, just overall bad play at the end. Talk about his overall performance just from the overall game itself towards the end.
Well, I feel choke artist is a little bit too harsh of a word. I mean, he brought them back. The East were down by as many as 19 points. And if it wasn't for LeBron, it wouldn't have been a game. So I think choke artist is a little too much. What you think?
I mean, honestly, I agree with you. He did bring them back from 21 points down. And he scored 8 points in the fourth with a number of assists that got players involved. And he himself hit 2 3-pointers with a fadeaway bank shot off the glass.
So how's he a choke artist?
But his previous performances in big games at the end show that he has something mental that he needs to work on. The cross-court pass to D Wade in the corner is not necessarily the best play to make when you get the offensive rebound, and you should be the one that drives to the basket. The media coverage itself is not the best because he's always the scapegoat. But there's something that he needs to work on as far as in the fourth quarter.
Big games. This is an all-star. It's a meaningless game. Like, who cares? What about Wade when he bobbled the pass? Does that make him a choke artist?
Yeah, he choked too.
But you didn't call D Wade a choke artist. You called LeBron a choke artist.
I said that LeBron James, that's the big news right now. He's not the only choke artist. Darren Williams missed the open shot.
That doesn't make him a choke artist because he missed a shot.
His previous background as far as being in big games, like games against the Boston Celtics in Game 6 in 2010, he didn't necessarily play the best.
So you're saying all that makes him a choke artist in this moment?
I'm saying it adds up. 2011 NBA Finals, did he play the best?
But what does that have to do with the All-Star game?
I'm saying, are you listening to what I am saying?
Yeah,
I am saying that his previous track record, up until this point, up until big games when it really matters, he doesn't necessarily play the best. I'm saying that he is a great player. In some instances where he should play the best, he doesn't necessarily do that. Other players like Kobe Bryant, like Kevin Durant, they have the same track record as well. Kobe Bryant doesn't necessarily play the best in big games as well, but they're not judged as the same standard as LeBron James is because he is the best player. When you're the best player on the court, you should shine the best.
Well, he did have a bad pass, but again, he brought him back.
He did.
I think the media is getting overhyped with this choking thing. It's more D Wade. If he didn't bobble that pass, the East would have won. But that's just me.
Okay. So with D Wade being his teammate, they do have 2 MVP candidates on their team. Would you elaborate on overall MVP candidates at this point?
Well, the MVP of the league is obviously LeBron James. He's brought his team to a whole new level this year. They're kind of pissed off what happened last year, so they came out with a vengeance. D Wade missed about 9 games. They're 8-1 in those games, and that's all because of LeBron James. Okay. Now, who's your MVP?
I agree with you. I think LeBron James should win his 3rd MVP. He's obviously the best player. In my opinion, he's been the best player for the last 6 years, since 2006, his 3rd year in the NBA. I think that he himself elevates his teammates. He's the best passing superstar that we've ever seen. He's aside from Magic Johnson, who's a point guard, but he's the best scoring superstar that we've ever seen that passes the ball. He's obviously the most talented player in the NBA, and I think that his overall performance should not be judged by the season. I think that his true test will come in late April, May, June. We'll see where he goes.
So the choke artist won his 3rd MVP according to you?
Yeah.
Well, okay.
I agree with that. Would you agree that he is clutch. I won't say that he's not clutch, but I think mentally there's something that he needs to overcome in big games, like the game seven, like for example, Game 7 with Kobe Bryant.
Mm-hmm.
He shot 6 for 24, scored 20 points, and had 15 rebounds. He had a horrible game, like literally a horrible game, people. It was just a bad game. But the one thing that people forget about is your bad games when you win. Obviously, LeBron James has to overcome those bad things he has to win for people to forget about all of his bad things. When you're the best player, you get the shine because you're the best player, you're the most talented player. You should be doing all of these things. And he's not performing to his potential necessarily.
Well, he has so far this season. It's just the All-Star game. He made one bad pass, and his previous bad experiences has come up. That's a little unfair. But when you're LeBron James, I guess that comes with the territory.
Definitely. So let's move on from the All-Star game. Obviously, Kobe Bryant, he has a concussion now because of a play from Dwayne Wade where he fouled him on the baseline. Kobe has a game coming up against the Minnesota Timberwolves where he might not play. From what we know, he's day to day, and that concussion in the All-Star game, that hard foul. What do you think about that?
I guess it was an accident. A lot of people say it was a dirty play. I'm not sure about that. I guess it was just a hard foul. We need more of those in the All-Star game. Everybody complains that the All-Star game, nobody plays any defense, but when somebody tries to play defense, I guess this was what happens sometimes.
His overall performance so far, like just being at this age in his career, he's 33 years old. He's in his 16th year in the NBA. He's still performing pretty well. He's averaging 28 points a game, 5 assists, and basically 6 rebounds a game. With that type of high level of performance, where would you put Kobe at this point with the Lakers, the type of talent that they have around him?
I think they're a second-round team at best. They could lose in the first round if they don't get home court advantage, which it might not be possible with the Clippers in their division.
Yeah.
So they need a little bit more talent to surround him. A point guard would be nice, and a small forward would be nice, and a bench also.
Now, as we touched on earlier, Kobe Bryant has had some shaky moments in the playoffs as well, where nobody really mentions, like the Game 7 against Phoenix, where they lost by 40. And he basically quit on his team. Then he has the Game 7 against the Celtics, where he shot 6 for 24, but they eventually won.
They still won.
And some previous bad performances when Shaquille O'Neal was there. But he does have what I would say is a level of excellence that he tries to maintain. At this point in his career, he doesn't have the best talent around him.
No.
And obviously, management doesn't know what to do with Pau Gasol. They're kind of juggling him in the air. The NBA vetoed a trade where he would go to Houston, and the Lakers would get Chris Paul. So I believe that there's a possibility that there might be some shakeups with the Lakers, and Kobe Bryant may be able to make that last run that we might see.
I kind of don't see it. I mean, unless they could get a Chris Paul, Dan Williams type point guard, I don't see it.
I agree. And another MVP candidate that we might have is Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, his team is 27-7 right now, leading the West. Him and his dynamic partner in crime, Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook is averaging 24 points a game, 6 assists. Kevin Durant is averaging basically 28 points a game with career highs in field goal percentage, rebounds, and blocks. He's averaging a block a game and almost 8 rebounds a game. Do you see their progression as players, along with a better supporting cast, James Harden? Do you see the Thunder making a run again in the Western Conference Final?
Yeah, I'll say they're the favorites right now. I don't think anyone can really challenge them in the West. Maybe Dallas if everybody gets their head straight, Lamar Odom. But other than that, I don't really see anybody challenging them.
Do you think that their lack of inside presence as far as offensively will hurt them later?
Maybe against the Lakers I can see it, but anyone else, no. Because if you look at the top contenders in the West besides the Lakers, no one has really a good big man. I mean, the Clippers have Blake Griffin, but he's more of a pick and roll guy. And at this point in his career, he doesn't really score inside, like with his back to the basket yet. So I think they could pretty handle him pretty well with Kendrick Perkins and Serge Ibaka.
That's a good point. Well, we'll see where it goes in the West. Obviously, the West has some things that they're not used to. The West doesn't necessarily have the best teams in the NBA at this point. The East is making a resurgence again. You have the Heat, the Bulls.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Knicks coming back.
Okay.
Because of Jeremy Lin's sanity. Jeremy Lin, if you guys don't know, He's a sensation around the NBA. He's a point guard from Harvard. Obviously, we know Harvard's educational standards put them in a realm that's not necessarily athletic. But Jeremy Lin himself has worked up the ranks of the NBA, getting cut from teams such as the Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets, sleeping on his brother's couch, to coming in against the New Jersey Nets this season from the end of the bench to score 25 points and take over the NBA.
Against Darren Williams, who's arguably the best point guard in the league.
Arguably. But Jeremy Lin's skill has elevated the Knicks to new heights. They've won how many games?
They're about 9-2, past 11 games. No, 9-3, past 12.
9-3 so far with Jeremy Lin playing. They beat the Lakers at home. They went on the road and beat some bad teams such as the Washington Wizards and the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Hey, they did beat the defending champs too.
They also beat the Dallas Mavericks at home with great performances from Jeremy Lin in all of these games. Well, how would you elaborate on Jeremy Lin's?
He fell in their lap. Like, what can I say? He was almost gonna get cut, but Carmelo advised Mike D'Antoni to play him against the Nets. He had one good game. He started the next game against the Jazz. He had another good game. Then he played the Raptors, and then everything fell into place. They started winning again.
Well, we have some highlights of Jeremy Lin, courtesy of NBA.com. So we would like to show y'all just how effective he's been so far.
This is what I like. I like this.
Lin picks it up. Lin drives in and lays it in.
That was excellent defense. Anytime you get an opportunity to trap the Lakers, trap them. Get out in the open floor.
And listen to this Garden crowd on this 10-0 run.
And inside lobbing to Chandler, who finishes at the rim. So Lin with his first assist.
Good perseverance that time, being hounded by a Rubio.
Lin around the screen by Jeffries, now pulls up for the jump shot. Got it off the glass.
Look at this shot by Lin. He has to shoot it up high.
Lin splits the defenders, gets inside. Lefty layup, puts it in. Sensational move from Jeremy Lin. Good fade ahead, and Chandler throws it down. There's Jeremy Lin with that court vision.
Remember what I said, Mike. Chandler is running harder, rotating to the basket off pick and rolls quicker because he knows the pass will be there.
Lin to the basket, reverse layup, he shoots it up. The one play for Jeremy Lin.
And how zigzag reverse off the glass. Yeah, winning and grinning.
Lin on the drive, gets inside, banks it in. Wow!
How about that? How about that? He did not want a screen. He wanted to take his man, come up on the other side of the rim.
Nobody stopping Jeremy Lin on that play. Lin likes the open floor, spinning, puts it up and banks it in.
Yes.
Sensational play for Jeremy Lin. And the Garden crowd on its feet again.
Mike, he's really enjoying it. You can see the smile on his face because he almost tripped and fell as he came out of that spin.
Another standing ovation for Jeremy Lin.
5, 4, Lin for the win.
Now that you've seen that great highlight video of Jeremy Lin, I feel we should talk about the Knicks now. I think the Knicks will make the Eastern Conference Finals, and I think they'll go to the finals and beat Oklahoma City in 5 games.
Now, obviously, you're a Knicks fan.
I'm not biased, though. This is how I really feel.
You really explain why you feel this way.
Well, with Jeremy Lin, we have a stable point guard now. Remember, in the beginning of the season, we were running with Tony Douglas, who's a 2-guard in the point guard's body, and we had Iman Shumpert, who's also a 2-guard in the point. Well, he's a 2-guard. He's 6'6", so I wouldn't say he's in the point guard's body. But they asked him to play point guard, which obviously he couldn't do. So both of those players can't execute the pick and roll, which is the most basic play in basketball. Now we have Jeremy Lin, who can execute the pick and roll with Amari and Carmelo, opens the entire floor with a bunch of shooters, Carmelo, Steve Novak, J.R. Smith, Iman Shumpert's coming back tonight. So is Josh Harrison against the Cavs. And we're gonna see what happens. I think they're gonna win the championship this year. What do you think?
Well, obviously, I disagree with you. The Knicks are gonna go against elite teams like the Miami Heat.
The Knicks are an elite team.
They're 7th in the East right now.
All right, but Jeremy Lin wasn't playing the entire season. You see what he's done since he started playing. You see how they've done.
I know. They lost to the Hornets at home.
But they beat the Mavericks. Doesn't that, negate that loss?
No, it doesn't.
Why not?
Because the Hornets are one of the worst teams in the NBA. I'm talking about low thirds. I'm talking about with the Charlotte Bobcats.
But they beat the champions.
So what is that? That's saying you play down to your competition?
No, that's just one game.
But then on the other hand, you play up to your competition.
And Carmelo didn't even play that game.
Carmelo is one of the most talented stars in the NBA.
The best scorer in the NBA.
I disagree with you
on
that.
Oh, my God. Who scores better than Carmelo Anthony?
Every player that's ahead of him in scoring right now.
But, of course, they're going to be ahead of him. He doesn't have as many shots as he does now. With Jeremy Lin, Amari, J.R. Smith, he doesn't have as many opportunities to shoot the ball.
What about those years he was on the Nuggets?
I can't count for that.
You see, so you're being inconsistent.
I'm not a Nuggets fan. All I care about is when he's on the Knicks.
Well, obviously this bias is not necessarily.
I'm not being biased. I'm not. What are you talking about?
Well,
everybody is widely regarded that he is the best scorer in the NBA. Charles Barkley said it. Shaq said it. These are 2 Hall of Famers who agree with me. So I'm not being biased here.
Well, as you can see, the graphic with the number you can call in if you feel like he is the best scorer. I disagree. So if you have any analysis or anything that you would like to speak on that we've spoken on so far, why don't you call 203-345-0103.
Let's get back to this Carmelo thing. So who scores better than him? LeBron?
LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Kobe Bryant.
So Kevin Love is a better scorer than him? He averaged more points this season.
I didn't say Kevin Love is a better scorer.
But you said everybody who averaged more points than him.
This year, Kevin Love is a better scorer.
Oh, my God.
In the past, I'm not just talking about this season. I'm talking about overall career. Obviously, he's the most talented. He's one of the most talented players in the NBA. Obviously, top 5 in my opinion. But I feel like the way he scores is not necessarily the most consistent, the most consistent way that he scores.
He gets the ball in the basket. That's all that matters.
Yeah, but his career scoring average is less than Dwayne Wade, it's less than LeBron James, and it's less than Kevin Durant. Obviously, less than Kobe Bryant. Over the last 9 years that he's been in the NBA, he has 3 years under 22 points a game. If you're an elite scorer, you don't have 3 years under 22 points a game in 9 years.
You do when you want to pass the ball more.
When you want to pass the ball, he's never averaged more than 4 assists.
He averaged 4.4 assists this season.
Which is a career high in 9 years.
Which is pretty good if you're the best scorer in the NBA, I would say. Oh, really?
But LeBron James consistently averages close to 8 assists a game.
But he's not the best scorer in the NBA. And he has D. Wade and Chris Bosh to pass the ball to.
And he averages 28 points a game.
Oh, my. It's different.
How is it different?
Because LeBron has the ball in his hands more than Carmelo does.
Oh, and Carmelo finally started to run point forward for the Knicks this year, and his career high is 4.4 points a game.
But look who he can only pass the ball to.
He can pass it to Amari Stoudemire.
That's it. Who's having a career worst season?
Why? As soon as Carmelo came to the Knicks, what is Amari's scoring average? Before Carmelo, he was averaging 25 points a game. After Carmelo, his scoring average dropped to 17 points a game. That's among the worst. That's the worst drop off for any player in the NBA.
That Amari is acting like a scrub this season.
It's not.
It's not Carmelo's fault.
Guess what?
No excuses for Amari. Is it Carmelo's fault that he can't rebound?
It's not. We're talking about scoring right now. We're not even talking about the fact that you guys can't rebound compared to the elite teams. That's aside from the point. I'm trying to give you a strength right now. Your scoring is down from last year. Your defense is up. Props to Mike Woodson
and Tyson Chandler.
But what I will say is this: I don't think that the Knicks can maintain this level of consistency towards the end of the season. Teams have started to figure out Jeremy Lin's game. It's up to him to adjust now to the NBA.
He will.
And I think that Carmelo will revert back into his one-sided ways where he gets the ball and the ball sticks to him.
You listen to George Carl too much. And first of all, only one team figured out Jeremy Lin. And nobody has athletes like the Miami Heat. So any other team can try to do what they do, but it's not going to work.
His performance against the Minnesota Timberwolves, although you guys did win, he shot pretty bad. And he does have
he made the game-winning free throws.
He is turnover prone. He has had over 6 games with 6 turnovers, and
that's because Carmelo wasn't there.
So you're making excuses.
What excuses am I making? Carmelo makes the game easier for Jeremy Lin.
So why didn't he make the game easier for Amari Stoudemire?
I don't know.
8-point drop off. I don't understand.
I don't know.
But let's move on though.
Wait. Before we move on, yes. Where do you think the Knicks are gonna end up? I said NBA champions.
And I say they get eliminated in the first round.
To who?
To the Chicago Bulls. Who they're going to play?
First of all, they're going to win the division, so they're not going to play the Bulls in the first round.
Well, the Philadelphia 76ers have a 4-game lead over them so far.
And you don't think they can erase 4 games in 2 months?
Well, when you lose games to the Charlotte Hornets at home, well, the New Orleans Hornets, I apologize, people. The New Orleans Hornets. When you lose games to the New Orleans Hornets at home, it's not necessarily the best thing.
Well, Philly lost 5 games in a row before their win against the Detroit Pistons.
And they're still 4 games ahead of the New York Knicks.
So I guarantee you the Knicks will win the division. They have everybody healthy now.
People, let's move on. Speaking of the Knicks, though, there's an anniversary coming up that I don't think you're too proud of.
Which would that be?
Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain on March 2nd, 1962. Scored 100 points versus the New York Knicks. For the first time, the NBA, when Wilt Chamberlain stepped into the NBA had their first prolific scorer. This guy averaged over 30 points for his career, 30.1. He rebounded at a prolific rate, 22 rebounds a game,
which is a record.
And he obviously was the most dominating force of his time.
Of all time.
Arguably all time.
Arguably.
How do you feel about that performance against the New York Knicks?
What performance are you talking about? Oh, the 100 points. Well, first of all, I'm not too sure it exists. I don't see any video. All I see is audio. People make stuff up on the radio all the time. So until I see video proof, I can doubt whether it exists or not.
Well, here on the winner's circuit, we have video for you guys to just examine how dominant Wilt Chamberlain was. Check it out.
1962. Wilt Chamberlain of the Philadelphia Warriors had a season for the ages. The most dominant year by a player in the NBA, if not any sport. Chamberlain averaged over 50 points and 25 rebounds per game. His most incredible performance came on the night of March 2nd as the Warriors met the New York Knicks in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Get to Hershey about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There were no hotels for us to go to and stay in because we didn't do those kind of things in those days. We went straight to the arena where we had to wait around for 5 or 6 hours for the game. But happening to be in this arena, they had a shooting gallery, a little penny arcade, so some of the guys went there, and I started shooting rifles and so on and so forth, and I couldn't miss anything. So if there was ever a clue that I was going to have a high day, this was definitely the clue.
Rogers, inside to Adams, to Chamberlain. He's got it. History being written tonight in Hershey. The big man has broken the record and he's gone for more. We're just conjecturing here how many can he make. The guesses are running as high as 100.
I think when he got up somewhere in late third quarter, fourth quarter, Dave Zinkoff, who was the announcer, was now starting to call every point.
On the PA, they're announcing the new record of 79, and during the announcement, Chamberlain goes right ahead through the announcement and makes a foul. They're still making the announcement, he makes another foul. Chamberlain didn't even listen to it. He just made 2 straight fouls. He now has 81 points.
He was going, now that's 83 or that's 85. Then I think there was a conscious effort to try to get him 100.
Late in the game, I got the ball and in the just short of the corner, and Richie Guerin came flying at me, about to tackle me. At the same moment that Wilt bumped his man off his hip, gave me the signal, which was whoo. And for that second, he was open, and I got the ball to Wilt before Guerin hit me.
Rogers throws long to Chamberlain. He's got it. He's trying to get up. He shoots. No good. The rebound, Luckenbill. Back to Chamberlain. He shoots up. No good. In and out. The rebound, Luckenbill. Back to Ruckwick. Into Chamberlain. He made it. He made it. He made it. He made it. The fans are all over the floor. The Warrior players are all over him. Fans are coming out of the stands. 46 seconds left. The most amazing scoring performance of all time. 100 points was a big difference.
The Warriors won the game 169 to 147 for a crowd of only 4,124, although many more claimed to be there. At the end of his epic night, a tired Wilt Chamberlain actually hitched a ride back to his New York apartment with several Knick players.
And so I fall asleep immediately. I'm just really, really tired. But every time they come to a toll booth, you know, they stop and I'd wake up. And I can hear these guys talking. They're saying, can you believe that SOB got 100 points against us? And then I kind of like fall back to sleep again, and then I wake up again, and they spent the whole trip talking about the 100 points and how I should be ashamed of myself what I did to them.
Really embarrassing.
Yeah, you know. And so when I got to my apartment, they let me off. I said to them, hey, thanks, guys, but I'm really sorry about that 100 points. I didn't really mean it. You know.
Wilt Chamberlain passed away in 1999. His feat was one of Herculean proportions. And as time has passed, it has taken on mythical qualities. 100 points by one man. No one has even come close.
When people say Wilt Chamberlain, they say 100 points. So I would guess this is the biggest game, you know, that I ever had.
Oh, I was just so glad they did it to somebody else and not us. Oh, I said, boy, that could have been me. Because he was that talented.
Wow, to envision somebody to score 100 points, and how did he do it?
Unimaginable, basically. I can't even imagine seeing anybody do that.
It was never going to be broken. But when I was going to do that, I was asking myself, was he playing by himself, or was he playing against the other 5 guys on the other team?
Obviously, that was great commentary from some of the current players in the NBA, and also some of the players from the past who played with Wilt, like Bill Russell. How do you think that performance, in retrospect, changed the NBA? I mean, obviously he was 36 for 63 from the field. The field goal, his free throw percentage was outstanding.
He only missed 4 free throws the whole game.
28 for 32.
And he's the 3rd worst free throw shooter in NBA history.
So obviously he stepped up his game to play.
Of course, when you play against the Knicks, you got to step your game up, baby, or you're going to lose.
Well, yeah, you guys, your defense wasn't really that good. You gave up 169 points. So why didn't you guys step up your game?
Maybe they were in awe of that performance that I've still never seen before.
Well, in regards to the performance he had, the 100-point game, his prolific stats, where do you think he ranks all time?
Well, I think he's the greatest player who ever played the game of basketball. Like, what do you think?
Well, I think he's one of the best players to ever play.
One of?
But I can't call him the greatest player
Why
of
not?
all time when he wasn't even the best player in his era.
Oh, my God. Who's better than him? Bill? You going to say who? Bill Russell?
Bill Russell was better than him.
He had a better team around Wilt Chamberlain.
You see, that's a theory that has been pushed in your brain. And
it's not a theory.
Psychologically, that's easy to grapple on because he only has 2 championships compared to.
Because it's the truth.
To Bill's 11. But let's really break it down. They went head-to-head for 10 years, from 1959 to 1969.
Yeah.
They played each other a total of 142 times. Bill's teams won 84. Wilt's teams won 58. Obviously, Bill Russell won. During that 10-year span, Bill Russell has 9 championships compared to Wilt's 1. But here's the kicker that I think you need to know. During that time, Wilt Chamberlain played with 6 players in the NBA top 50. The top 50 is the 50th anniversary team with the best players up until that point. He played with 6, where Bill Russell, on the other hand, played with 4. During Bill Russell's career, he had 26. His teammates made 26 All-Star appearances.
All-Star games don't mean anything.
You see, here's the thing. When you're measuring teammates, you're measuring their performance, their overall talent. Obviously, those players are gonna perform well. Wilt had 24 All-Stars, as 24 All-Star appearances spread out through his teammates, and Bill Russell had 26. So that's even, 26 to 24. Then let's look at it this way. Wilt Chamberlain is 10-11 in elimination games. What is Bill Russell? 16-2. 18 games compared to 21. Wilt Chamberlain is 1 game under 500, and
that's because he ain't had the squad that Bill Russell had.
Bill Russell is 14 games over 500. Obviously, we see when they go head to head, Bill Russell is not necessarily going to have the best offensive stats compared to Wilt. Wilt's high is 62 going against Russell, where Russell was 37.
That means he shut him down.
But obviously, who got the win?
Okay, because he can't do everything. He's not Superman.
You see, you're making excuses.
I'm not making excuses.
When you're playing a game, obviously, you want to go up to the highest level possible, which is a championship. When Wilt and Bill Russell went head-to-head, Bill Russell won every time. He got the most out of his teammates, and he was the ultimate competitor.
I guarantee you, if you ask Bill Russell, he will tell you that Wilt Chamberlain is better than him.
And I guarantee you, if you ask Bill Russell what's the most important thing, he's gonna say winning.
Of course, but
if you only have 2 championships in 13 years compared to Bill Russell's 11 in 13 years, and in a 10-year span that you play, you only have 1 championship compared to your counterparts 9. Obviously, you're falling short somewhere.
That doesn't mean anything.
He got traded 2 times in his prime. Obviously, he's expendable if he's getting traded. Bill Russell never got traded. Why?
Maybe because his organization was he was in a better organization.
Maybe it's because Bill Russell is the most valuable player during that time.
No,
From 1957 to 1967.
Well, how many MVPs did he win?
He got 4.
Wilt Chamberlain has 4, so they both equally valuable. So that holds it out.
No, when you get to valuable, you got to talk about the intangible.
Wilt Chamberlain was the MVP and the Rookie of the Year in the same season. Only one other person.
What was his record?
That's not important.
What was his record? He was 36 and 46.
So what?
What was his record? You see, here's the thing, people. When we talk about winning, comparing players, obviously, talent-wise, Wilt Chamberlain was the most prolific scorer that we've seen. He was the most dominant player that we've seen. He and Bill Russell alone changed defensive rules as far as goaltending, as far as widening the lane.
Wilt Chamberlain was more responsible than that for that.
For widening the lane, I agree with that. But those 2 players shifted the way basketball was looked at, and Wilt Chamberlain's numbers are gaudy enough that will make people think like, wow. But in that time period, there was only 10 teams. So you're going to average 14 games against your counterpart, which is the Boston Celtics.
That's not his problem.
You're playing the best team, and you're the best player. You have to be the one who elevates your team. You play with players like Billy Cunningham, Hal Greer.
They don't compare to John Havlicek and Sam Jones.
when you play with 6 players in the top 50, and I only play with 4, and your team and your teammates correlate with me, I'm supposed to win. He won in 67, right? Did he win in 67? Yeah. He won in 67.
And who did he beat in 67?
He beat the Celtics.
Okay, and that's because his teammates actually shot the ball well in that series.
So it was only one series they shot well.
They usually shot the ball very poorly when they played.
So why is it that they can beat every other team until they play the Celtics? In 1966, they lost to the Celtics. In 1965, they lost to the Celtics.
Well,
in 1964, they lost to the Celtics. This is back-to-back-to-back years where you're losing to the best team. Who has the most valuable player on their team? Wilt Chamberlain is, in my opinion, he's probably number 5 in my opinion.
Number 5
for all-time greatest players.
You can name 4 players better than him.
I have Bill Russell at number 2, and I think Magic is better. I think Larry Bird is better.
Oh my God!
And the number 1 player of all time, Michael Jeffrey Jordan.
Did you have to say his middle name?
Michael Jeffrey Jordan is the all-time greatest player of all time. He
ultimate Jordan fan right here.
He took the game. I think Magic Johnson and Larry Bird saved the NBA in the late 1970s and early 1980s. I believe that they themselves opened up different corporations to look at the NBA as a moneymaker. And with CBS in the late 70s and early 80s, they found the Lakers and Celtics matchups to be something that fans would like to see. Obviously, in the past, when they played each other head-to-head in the NCAA championship, that is still one of the highest-ranked NCAA championship games of all time. And obviously, Magic Johnson had the flair for people to see. Showtime, Lakers. They played in non-championships, non-NBA finals, where Magic had 5. During the 1980s, the Lakers and the Celtics played in all of them. The Lakers and the Celtics played in all of them in the 1980s.
Not all the finals.
Which ones did they miss?
Detroit played in a couple finals in the 80s.
The Lakers or the Celtics played in each final.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
So those 2 players saved the NBA. But I think that Michael Jordan elevated it to a worldwide standard, to the point where he is the most influential player of all time. Obviously, I don't think so. Obviously, if you ask him, he's going to say that he's not the best player of all time.
Why not?
Because he respects the game, and he wants to pay homage to players that he did not go against. But I believe, and this is in all honesty, that he's the most competitive player that we've ever seen, and his competitive nature elevated the game to heights that we will probably never see again.
Oh God!
6 championships in 8 years.
Oh my goodness!
With teams, with an expanded league, mind you. When Wilt Chamberlain had his level of excellence, there was only about 10 teams.
But they were all good teams
up until 1967. Then the league expanded. But in the 90s, this was when the league was deep into their performance, and the Bulls clearly took over. From 1991 to 1998, the Bulls had 6 championships in 8 years. During the year and a half that Michael Jordan left, which is basically 2 NBA seasons, the Bulls went to the second round.
And who they lose to?
They lost to the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks finally got their opportunity, and they lost to the Houston Rockets.
Why would you bring that up?
Then the Houston Rockets went on to beat the Orlando Magic in 1995.
When Jordan came back
with 17 games left in March, and they ended up beating the Bulls. But I believe that year and a half is the true symbol of why Michael Jordan is the best. When he left the NBA, teams they finally had the opportunity to win. And
they had an opportunity to win when he was there. And in 1993, if they called that foul on Charles Smith, the Knicks would have won the championship against the Phoenix Suns.
You see, this is excuses.
It's not excuses.
This is excuses for a team that loses. Michael Jordan set the standard for winning, and it will never be duplicated again. 6 championships in 8 years, 10 scoring titles from 1987 to 1998. Take the year and a half out of it. He has 10 consecutive scoring titles for his full season.
Wilt Chamberlain had that too, but he actually led the league in assists in 1 year. Did Michael Jordan ever do that? And he's a guard. Well, Michael Jordan's a guard.
Does Wilt Chamberlain have 10 consecutive?
Yeah, because he passes the ball.
Does he have 10 consecutive triple doubles? I don't.
Wait,
think so.
Because they didn't count blocks as an statistic when he played.
Most of them would have been goaltending.
No, they wouldn't have.
Anyway,
how do you know? Did you watch him play?
Let me ask you this: why does Wilt Chamberlain only have 2 championships in 13 years?
Well, because he didn't have as many good teammates.
Why was he traded? Why was he traded
because
3 times?
People make bad trades all the time.
People make bad trades.
They make in every sport.
Really? Or is he so indispensable that?
So you're saying he's indispensable?
I'm saying he's dispensable. You're saying he's indispensable, but I'm saying they can get rid of him. Obviously, he's not. He's not necessary for a championship. He's not necessary for a championship. He's the most talented player He's the most talented player of his era, but he's not a winner.
So how you gonna bring up chips and then say Michael Jordan's the greatest? Wouldn't Bill Russell be the greatest? He has 11.
You have to combine.
Oh, now you have to combine
with the individual level of excellence. Individually, he runs past everybody.
Who?
He runs past everybody with individual awards. And for his time and his level of winning in an expanded league, mind you, 6 championships in 8 years with a team with the league that has, say, 23 to 25 teams with a crop of talent that we've probably never seen.
There was a lot of bad teams in the 90s, man.
Really?
Really?
1996. Look at the teams. Look at the teams that Michael Jordan.
1996.
Look at the teams that Michael Jordan beat in the finals. He beat the.
Those
LA
don't compare
Lakers.
to the teams in the 70s and 80s.
Are you serious?
They beat. His first chip. He beat Magic and a bunch of stiffs.
What teams were in the NBA before the league expanded in the late 80s?
You still had the Lakers. You still had the Celtics, the Pistons. We have a caller, guys.
Obviously, let's check out. Thank you for calling the Winners Circuit. How may we help you?
Oh, hey, you were talking about Michael Jordan and Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, both of them are really legends. You know, I have a hard time deciding which one's better, but you know, I think respecting them both equally as legends is enough. Really? You think so?
I mean, I agree with you. I think that they're both legends. But when we talk about ranking overall excellence, we have to take into account their effect on their respective teams and the league itself. Obviously, their impact on the league is very important. But when you look at the standard that they set, we have to look at the way they won. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Wilt is still the more dominant player that ever lived. And when you're dominant, you're the best.
May I ask what's your name?
Oh yeah, Terry. Yeah. I've been having a hard time following. You know all the. Yeah, it's great you guys have. I mean, there's some things I heard that I didn't know about. So yeah, it's great you guys are doing this.
Thank you for calling and welcome to the Winner's Circle. You're in for life.
All right, thank you. All right, see ya.
So speaking of winning, how come Michael Jordan didn't win a chip until Larry Bird was old, Magic was about to retire, then he started winning?
Magic was about to retire. Magic Johnson was forced to retire.
When Larry Bird was in his prime, Michael Jordan was getting swept in the first one.
He was
young. Now he's young. Wilt Chamberlain was young when he lost to the Celtics.
When he learned how to win, there was no turning back. There was
turning back. In 95, he lost.
In 95. Oh, why are you bringing up 95?
Because he lost.
Let me tell you this. Thank you for calling the Winner's Circuit. How may we help you?
Hi, I'm just sitting here listening to you guys, and I just wanted to put, I guess, my little 2 cents in.
Okay.
May we ask what your name is?
My name's Jeremiah.
All right, how may we help you?
All right, so basically, I'm just listening to you, and I'm hearing you comparing, Jordan and Chamberlain, Russell, Bird, Magic, and all of these guys. All of these guys really had different styles, when it came to their game.
Yes,
we know that Bird was definitely a great scorer, an underrated passer. Magic was an awesome, passer or point guard, very skilled, and he made his teammates better. So that's what you really want out of a point guard. So if we're going to compare like maybe Magic to Bird or Jordan, we'll just say that Magic Johnson could be the greatest point guard of all time.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you on that point.
Right, and we'll say that Wilt Chamberlain can be obviously the most dominant player of all time. We can say it like that. We'll say that Bill Russell can probably be one of the best defensive players of all time. Although, you don't really look at him much from the scoring aspect. He was a great scorer. And if you're trying to compare Bill Russell to Chamberlain, if I'm comparing them two, I'm just going to say that Wilt was the better scorer. And I'll say that I'm going to say that Bill Russell was the better defender. And Wilt Chamberlain, I guess you're not going to say that he was a winner because he was on a losing team, but Bill Russell, he was obviously on a better team.
Exactly. That was my point.
You see?
Exactly. Yeah, I was totally, agreeing with you on that. Bill Russell, he just had the better team.
Exactly.
One player can't hold it down by itself.
Thank you.
Okay. I agree with the point where you said he was a more talented scorer, but when you really look back on their teammates, Wilt Chamberlain played with just as many top 50 players. He played with just as many All-Star appearances as far as with teammates. I think that the theory of better team comes from the championships that the Celtics won. But if you really look at the makeup of the team and the talent that each team had, the Celtics and the Sixers, the Celtics and Wilt Chamberlain's team were even if you really look at it.
No. I don't think so.
Yeah, but really, the Celtics definitely had better coaching, and then one of the better point guards of all time.
Exactly.
Bob Cousy. So you got a guy like that running your team. It's kind of hard to lose. You got a guy like Wilt Chamberlain under the bullets getting you all of these rebounds, all of these blocks. Defense can really change the game. If you have somebody who's skilled offensively, but even more skilled defensively, they always say that defense wins games. So this is why Bill Russell always had the edge, because he was an excellent defender, and it's hard. If you can't score, then how are you going to win?
Yeah, and you bring up great points as far as you obviously know the game. You bring up a great point about Bob Cousy being a great point guard.
Exactly.
I would like to ask you this: with Wilt Chamberlain's scoring being at 30 points a game, and his rebounding being at a high 22 points a game, can you explain to us over the air why Wilt Chamberlain's scoring dropped so drastically in the playoffs? He averages only 22 points a game. With his rebounds did upgrade to 24. But why would you say his scoring dropped?
Let's just say, I can't speak for, let me get my thoughts together. I'll just say that usually, the regular season, okay, it's not really that much pressure on you. It's a little bit of pressure on you because you're trying to make the playoffs, but once you get there, it's a totally different situation. It's even more pressure because you know that you have a limited amount of games to win. You have to win more games than your opponent, and you'll go home. So that puts a lot of pressure on you, and sometimes people can't really deliver, in clutch situations like that, or when they have that much pressure on them like that. Maybe his scoring average dropped because he wanted to get his teammates more involved, or maybe he just
he passes the ball
with as much confidence as he had before they would get into the, before the playoffs.
Now you brought up great point.
Maybe he just wasn't that clutch. He probably didn't have that much of a clutch gene.
You see,
always wanted to take that shot.
You see,
and
I want to thank you so much for bringing up this point, because I've been trying to get through to my counterpart here, where Wilt Chamberlain in Game 7s alone, he played in 9 Game 7s. He was 4-5 in elimination games for his team. He was 10-11. That's in 21 elimination games. He was 10-11. Whereas Bill Russell, on the other hand, in Game 7s, he was 10-0. In elimination games, he was 16-2. This is all when it really matters, and I think that's what separates Bill Russell from Wilt Chamberlain.
So if you had a chance to start,
you can definitely separate him, from who had the most victories to losses. But at the end of the day, which sounds very cliche, it's all about who has the best supporting cast. And,
exactly.
You know, the Celtics obviously had better coaching. You know, it wasn't all one man. You know, everything kind of, everything was kind of built around Chamberlain. He was that guy who needed to score. You know, and with that, everybody else can kind of lose a little bit of confidence because they're not really feeling like they're part of the team. You know, Bill Russell, on the other hand, he was a part of a team. Everybody played their part, and everybody delivered like they were supposed to. Bill Russell did what he had to do. Kuzma did what he had to do, and the other supporting cast did what they had to do. And this is why, not with Bill Russell alone, they had, caused the Celtics to win as many games as they did.
So I have a quick question.
They were a better team.
If you had a chance to start a team with Wilt Chamberlain or Bill Russell, who would you pick?
If I had a chance to start a team? Well, honestly, games, you need a good rebounder.
Oh.
I'm going to go with Bill Russell.
Wilt Chamberlain is the greatest rebounder of all time.
Okay. Now, before we wrap up, first and foremost, we would like to thank you for calling in to this show. This is our first inaugural show, and you're one of the first callers to ever call in on our show. So we want to thank you for that.
You're part of the circle.
No problem. I'll be tuning in and giving you more, my input regularly.
Well, I just want to ask you one thing. You mentioned a lot about a team and the cohesiveness that the Celtics had that Wilt Chamberlain's numerous teams didn't necessarily have the best of. Would you agree that it's up to the star player, the most valuable player, and the head coach to ultimately create a tradition of winning, a cohesiveness? They create that themselves. Would you agree?
I agree. Yes, definitely. I mean, that's one of the responsibilities of the star
player. So you're saying it's Wilt Chamberlain?
Make their team better. Not just scoring the ball or providing a great spark on defense, but I don't know. It's when it comes to that, sometimes it just has a lot to do with energy. If you have positive energy, in that locker room or on the floor, that's going to become contagious to your team, and then that will allow your team to play better. If you're just an arrogant and selfish player who feels like, you're the only person that can deliver on that team, and your team actually feels that energy from you, then chances are they're not going to, be able to keep up with you. They're not going to be able to, deliver, like they're actually capable of doing. So, a perfect, example of a player with that spark is, your man Jeremy Lin. He has that contagious energy, and he's making, the Knicks a really, really, really great team.
Thank you so much for calling in. What is your name again?
Jeremiah.
We would like to thank you. We'd like to thank you for calling in, and from now on, you are part of the winner's circuit. On behalf,
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for calling in.
No problem.
All right. Wilt is the greatest rebounder of all time.
Well, we had some great feedback from Jeremiah, and obviously, it's tomatoes.
No.
I brought up some points that Jeremiah obviously coincided with. We agreed. We definitely agreed on cohesiveness, clutch gene. We agreed on some.
So Wilt Chamberlain doesn't have the clutch gene?
If you
can score 100 points in a game, you have a clutch gene. Who else scored 100 points? Nobody's even come close. Jordan hasn't come close.
Clutch gene. There was no pressure on him during that game.
To score 100
there was
points?
No pressure on him
if he didn't score 100 points, they would have lost.
Oh, but how would you explain his game sevens? How would you explain his
Because, as
record?
he said, they have a better team around him.
And as we both pointed out, Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain had basically the same amount of Hall of Famers, top 50 players, all-star appearances. It's all even. It's all even, people.
God,
this is true fact.
This is a Wilt Chamberlain hater right here. He's hating.
Well, I digress. Let's progress on to the next point. We mentioned a lot of players. We mentioned LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Kobe Bryant, Jeremy Lin, all of these other players. There's other teams that we're not mentioning, such as the Spurs, who have played exceptional. Tony Parker might be in consideration for the MVP, even though LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, and Kevin Durant are the front runners.
And Jeremy Lin.
There are other teams that we're not mentioning. Are there any sleepers that you might might consider that can sneak up on people that we're not?
Well, I don't think there's any sleepers in the East because everybody knows the Knicks are taking it, the Eastern Conference. So sleepers, it doesn't really matter in the East. In the West, look out for the Memphis Grizzlies. When Zebo comes back, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Who is Zebo? In case
Zach Randolph, if you didn't know.
Okay. Where do you think the Knicks need to improve on?
Rebounding. Stop turning the ball over. Amari has to play better. When we just have to get healthy.
Okay, I definitely agree with you. So,
who is your sleepers?
My sleepers at this point, I would say, is the Philadelphia 76ers.
Oh, Lord.
Philadelphia 76ers in the East and the Indiana Pacers in the West. Obviously, the Pacers.
The Pacers are in the East.
Perimeter. Oh, Pacers. I'm sorry, in the East. I apologize, people. Obviously, the Pacers don't necessarily have the best perimeter scoring, but they do have Danny Granger, and they do have some size that can hurt some teams.
Size? They only have Roy Hibbert.
They have Roy Hibbert.
Roy Hibbert's a bum.
He's a bum.
I mean, yeah, he made the All-Star game, but, like, what does that mean? Like, who wants to see Roy Hibbert in the game anyway? The coaches voted for him. That don't count.
They do have some substantial. They do have some size. They have Hansborough.
Oh my God.
They have Hibbert. Paul George is pretty tall, and they also have long arms in Granger and George.
They might win one playoff game, and the Sixers might get swept. So if those are your sleepers, then guys, you could just snore on them because they're not going anywhere.
Well, before we wrap up, we would like to thank everyone for tuning in. We would like to thank all our callers who called and gave us great commentary, great analysis, and great feedback. Before we wrap up, we would like to show you guys a Jeremy Lin introspective video from NBA.com.
Who is the future MVP of the league?
Just to show the people how much inspiration he has drawn to us as up-and-coming sportscasters and all people around the world.
Tune in to next week. Hopefully we have more Wilt Chamberlain lovers than haters like this guy right here.
Coming in. Jeremy Lin. Shot clock at 8. Splits the defense again. Gets to the rim. Puts it in. And a foul. Wow.
He came in there, went off that first pick and roll, got some cup. And everybody started chanting. We got the crowd behind us. Ever since then, it's been Lin sanity, Lin mania, Linning.
The starting point guard for the Knicks tonight, Jeremy Lin. That's right, and for Jeremy Lin tonight the story is, what do you do for an encore?
Lin splits the defenders, gets inside, lefty layup, puts it in. Sensational move from Jeremy Lin.
This unheralded, undrafted underdog comes out of nowhere, and he's shining right now on one of the biggest stages in all of pro sports.
It's indescribable, really. It's something I've never seen before. I'm just happy to be a part of it, really, to be on the same team.
Lin, nice pass, Chandler.
Just the confidence that he plays with, the understanding of the game. I think he's taking us all by surprise. Not only us, but, the league right now.
Nobody stopping Jeremy Lin on that play.
Is this becoming overwhelming at all for you personally?
Yeah.
It's funny. Kobe Bryant, every time he comes into the Garden, he's the biggest story, but he's not tonight. It's amazing. Some kid who was undrafted, went to Harvard. That's the guy that everybody's talking about.
I think New York City loves the underdog. And boy, oh boy, is this kid an underdog. It really has been a special story.